This is the Criterion Creeps podcast. Tonight we are wrapping up our trilogy of Alfred Hitchcock movies, starting with Rebecca, continuing on into Spellbound, and concluding here with Notorious from 1946, directed by Big Al himself. Tagline for the film: Notorious woman of affairs, adventurous man of the world. And the synopsis of the film from Letterboxd: in order to help bring Nazis to justice, U.S. government agent T.R. Devlin recruits Alicia Huberman, the American daughter of a convicted German war criminal, as a spy. As they begin to fall for one another, Alicia is instructed to win the affections of Alexander Sebastian, a Nazi hiding out in Brazil. When Sebastian becomes serious about his relationship with Alicia, the stakes get higher, and Devlin must watch her slip further undercover. Fascinating. So
Is that what the movie was about?
I guess so. So this is a movie that has bounced around with me for a long time. I'm pretty sure that it's the first non-Universal Hitchcock movie I ever watched. Because I was trying to think back to it. It would have been like I would watch, The Birds and Psycho, North by Northwest, maybe. What is it, Universal? It kind of gets cloudy, but this is definitely like the earliest one that I watched for a really long time. Back when in my early cinephile days, looking at that, Roger Ebert great movies list, seeing Alfred Hitchcock great movies, got to watch that one. So I had the old VHS and a clamshell of this, and now I have it on Blu-ray, and I guess it's probably the third time I've seen it. And this is a movie that I've always liked Cary Grant, I guess, as as a Hollywood actor. Yeah. We'll let you have your say. You can have your say later, RJ. We all know how much you love Cary Grant. He's just I don't know. He has that weird star quality that guys like him, Gregory Peck, Jimmy Stewart, all these dudes who worked with Hitchcock. They have this kind of weirdness to them that I don't think any actor gets away with it now, or this sort of uniqueness has been just beaten out of them, and they're all just the same dude, the same leading man every single time out. And it's just depressing because there's you can't describe any modern actor that much other than here's a photo of them and I go okay.
What about Vin Diesel?
Well, look where he wound up. Yeah, now he's the last witch hunter. And furious, fastly, and beefing with The Rock. So anyway, so I was kind of a Cary Grant fan, and then Ingrid Bergman, I don't know, she's never left that much of a mark on me as far as a performer. She's always just this lady who kind of speaks with this bit of a European accent, who photographs really well, but she seems like a lot of actors from that time, a lot of female actors that just are kind of yep, she's fine. Maybe. So anyways, though, so this movie, this new viewing of it, I really like this movie quite a bit. I think it is the best of the Hitchcock movies in the collection so far.
Really?
I do. What are we at? This is 5. This movie, just from a storytelling perspective, the storyboarding, the clarity of the narrative, the characters and stuff like that, it's super stripped down. The movement and stuff like that. This movie's got so many low-key iconic scenes in it, and watching it, kind of knowing exactly where it's going to go and stuff like that. It was a little foggy. I'm what's the detail about this? I'm what's with the champagne bottles again? Because I know it's it's your old MacGuffin, and sure enough, it is. Talking about uranium, which is kind of weird in 1946 when this would have been written in 1945, before bombs were dropped and people really knew about all that atomic business. So anyway, it's kind of a neat little tidbit there. So some of the elements of this movie that I really like. The synopsis mentioned in Letterboxd is pretty accurate. This opens up with a guy off in the distance getting sent off to jail. You never see her father. He's just way kind of in the mid-frame, and he gives a bit of a speech from behind, and he's just sent packing for being a goddamn traitor to the country, and he's going to jail for it. And then we get introduced to his daughter,
Mm-hmm.
Old Ingrid here is Alicia Huberman, and her status in this is like questionable because she's the daughter of a trader and her life's going to be a lot harder. And of course the title of the film, Notorious, I guess is in reference to her character and the fact that she seems to be kind of a easy lady who likes to drink a lot and drive drunk and
Fast women.
be a little promiscuous perhaps, but they can't like they because of the limitations of like the production code and stuff like that in Hollywood at the time, they can't go outright say that or show it. So all that sexy stuff happens off screen, but so does which I found really interesting watching this time is the violence. No violence ever happens on screen save Cary Grant doing a little bit of karate chop into some wrists and to Ingrid kind of like from behind in a car. But that's just all good fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She gets recruited through some recording, I guess, even though it's like it doesn't really make you a bad person. It just shows that you're a better person than you want people to know, I guess. And so she gets kind of bullied into this kind of vague plan of like helping the country, of like helping find her dad's old buddies that are doing shitty things, crafty things down in Brazil. And yeah, they're off and running, but there's sort of this like strange chemistry going on between these two. And we get these kind of long kissing sequences, which are like so there's this like really like it's like really kind of like a kind of an awesome scene because it's just like it's very sensual, this like kind of like on again,
Don't say that.
on again, off again kissing scene, which like so there's a big thing written about how it's like it was like thought of as like the longest kissing sequence in like film history, because what it is there was like a rule again with this production code that like a kiss couldn't last longer than 3 seconds on screen. So what does Hitchcock do? He has his like things where like, well, they're not kissing exactly, and when they kiss, it's for like half a second, and then they stop, and they just continue like nuzzling and like burrowing each other's like chin and forehead into each other's faces as they're like kind of like husking out their lines and this like kind of breathing and stuff like that. It's like a really like it's really peculiar for like I'd say for 1946 for like this mainstream Hollywood movie with these actors, but it's I don't know. It's something anyway. Just like the movie gets going. We get introduced to old Claude Rains, old Invisible Man. He's not being in charge of the police over in Casablanca. Ingrid Bergman, I guess, got out of there all right. Humphrey Bogart still back there. We get her kind of shifted off to this dude, this creepy old guy who's like really into her still. But he seems like a sweet enough guy for
hell yeah.
Yeah,
Claude Rains is so sweet in this.
Yeah, he's a very nice guy, and he's getting the wool pulled over his eyes in this big elaborate ploy. And I mean, for the most part, it's like, does he really do anything too horrible other than like he's kind of found himself in the wrong company, and like if he steps out of line, he's pretty well fucked. So this kind of all builds into a situation where they have to kind of like play this espionage game. It doesn't feel like a spy movie though at all. It's like this like really stripped down kind of like character drama, and then you kind of start having this thing where like neither wants to admit, this is between Alicia and old Devlin, that like they have these feelings for one another, and like so they keep like playing the card like, well, no, I really don't like you. Oh yeah, well he asked me to marry him. Well, that's fine. I don't mind. You just go ahead and do that. Fine, I will. That whole situation plays out, and and then you get these great scenes with her like still having to attempt to like do what she's been sent down there to do, which is find out what's going on. These like great uses of just like camera work and framing. Keys are involved, foregrounds, people finding out what's going on, people getting poisoned, big reveals of that. Stairs, great use of stairs, people going down, people going up. I don't know. I'll let you talk about this movie, but I don't know.
I want to hear more about how stairs work.
Well, when you go up the stairs and it doesn't matter. it's not very suspenseful. But when you go back down the stairs, it seems like the stairs take even longer to get down. Just almost like it's there just to build tension. It's almost like some might say Hitchcock is a master of suspense.
Interesting, if true.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I just like watching this movie back through, just like, yeah, the use of like the foreground stuff and like little references like, oh, hey, here's her drinking with this like glass of like whatever antacid orange juice, and it's just like, oh, that's how you make yourself feel better. And then later on it's like, oh, the big thing in the foreground is filled with poison, and these things just trade on one another. People like in silhouettes standing in door frames, and like it's like always like a menacing image, but it's kind of nebulous. It's not it's ambiguous. You don't really know what it is. Topsy-turvy camera work of someone being drunk, which is kind of fancy again for 1946. Pretty played out now, but yeah, I don't know, man. I think this is quite a well-made, great little movie that Hitchcock made. I'm curious, what you thought?
How come? Why are you curious about what I think? Why does anyone care what I think about these movies? So this is an end to our Hitchcock-themed month. I just got to say up front, I'm pretty happy we didn't do this in one gigantic episode.
Yeah.
Because it is the fashion for us. We've done the double headers. We've done the three peats. But it definitely, when we do that, I think it makes for a good episode, but there's always a movie that suffers because of it, because there's always going to be one movie at the bottom of the barrel. It's like, we don't need to talk about that. And like, that would have been Spellbound, I think. If we had did this as a big three, it would have been like, here's why we don't love Spellbound. Here it is. And then I also think Notorious would have got a little bit of the short shaft on that, just because I think we would have really laid it out on Rebecca. Anyways, I was just saying, I think it's good. You mentioned once, let these movies breathe. So I'm glad we did it this way. I think my favorite of the three is Rebecca. But I do think Notorious is pretty good. I liked it quite a bit. There were some things I didn't really understand, and then the more that I've thought about them, and to be very honest with you, Jer, and I don't give you credit very often, hearing you describe some of these things a little bit more, I was like, yeah, that was a good part of that movie. So when I had first watched this a couple days ago, I was like, yeah, I like Notorious. It's good. It's definitely better than Spellbound. And I was like, I don't know if I like it as much as Rebecca. I'm currently kind of in between the two. On the two of them. I think they're both very good for different reasons. Notorious, I think, is what you would describe as that fine artisan film craft at work here. There's a lot of things
like roasted almonds and hand-pressed grains.
Yeah, finely salted fish, something like that.
Bean flour.
Yeah, all sorts of just delicate bakery work.
Fermentation.
Yeah, filmcraft, artisan filmcraft. No, there's some pretty cool, unique techniques in this movie, I think. And I think the one thing that's impressive or just admirable, I guess, is it's not overly showy. A lot of it is very subtle, and I think that's where you could get lost in this movie. Where, not lost. I mean, you could not. If you're not paying attention to it, I think you could miss a lot of these things because they are subtle and they build on these small moments. So there's a lot of like the obvious ones, like what you said. There's the way he films stuff. There's a few like really cool scenes where it's like shot way wide out and then it zooms into something. It's like, oh yeah, that's neat. Good job, Hitch. And then there's like the way he like shifts focus on things to like show you like it's very specific where you're focusing and then it goes to something else. You're like, oh yeah, shit. That's pretty good too, Hitch. You're doing a good job in this movie. So there's cool stuff like that I think is done really well. I think this movie is particularly good at building on certain themes, especially like Hitch themes. So there are certain things that I think are standards in a lot of his movies. The biggest one for this one, I think, is like ideas of trust and the relationships between people and like what they're doing. So the trust is obvious in this one, but then there's also this thing of like love and duty where it's like what they get this lady to do for political reasons, and then her inner conflicts with her relationship with the other guy. It's this like love trust thing, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's really neat. I'm glad that they're kind of exploring these issues and these topics. That's cool. There's other things that are also classic Hitch things. That mother complex that's in here. It's not necessarily like an Oedipus thing, but it's like, ooh man, there's some serious shit going on with old Al and his mom. Andy watched this with me, and the minute the old mother appeared, Andrew was just like, he's like, Hitch really had a thing for moms, eh? And I was like, yeah, Hitch did have a thing for moms. So there's like that. It's like that's a pretty heavy standard at this point. There's a few other things that I think are interesting, like not like Hitch staples, but like that Munchausen syndrome thing where it's Claude Rains like basically poisoning her to like keep her at bay. I was like, ooh, fuck. Well, I was like, that's pretty dark.
I don't think it's to keep her at bay though. It's like they're going to kill her, but they have to like they have to like make it look like she's just getting sick, and they're like, oh, I don't know what's going on, but because if they find out that she's a spy, they're all dead.
Yeah, no, and like I understood that too, but I just think I liked how it was kind of like in steps. They're like, okay, we're gonna be smart about this. That scene where she like figures it out, I think is pretty well done.
Oh, it's so good.
When you see she's surveying the room, and she's like, oh shit.
Well, yeah, Buddy goes to take the drink, and they're like, oh, don't do that. And then she's like, what?
Oh, yeah, but I do gotta say, so this movie does a really good job at like building the other romance between old Cary Grant and Ingrid Bergman, and you're like, yeah, they seem like real nice because they're making out all the fucking time. This movie is so much making out. There's the like long sequence, and I was just like, god damn, they're like 14-year-old kids just making out all the time. Even when like he like goes to meet her at the end, and she tells him she's poisoned. She's like, I've been poisoned, and then they like start making out again. I was like, what? It's like, what's going on here? Get her out of there. Why are you making out right now? This isn't the right time, Carrie. So they're like making out.
But initially, he doesn't even believe her.
No, he doesn't. He's like, give me a kiss, baby.
Well, no, because he looks over and he sees the booze or whatever, and he's like, oh yeah.
Well, see, that's another thing that's like really well done is like her drunkenness. There is a line where it's like, I don't remember where it is, but she's talking about like important drinking. She's like, the important drinking hasn't started yet or something. I was like, ooh, shit. I was like, I relate to that, baby. But it's good. It's like her coping mechanism, right? Like she's masking the things that are going on with her life and her emotions through drinking. And I was like, there are few things I relate to as much as heavy boozing to forget your pains. So I like that, and it does show their relationship well. But the reason I brought that up, I was like, yeah, they're like believable enough because they're making out all the time. But I think it makes the Claude Rains character that much sadder, because I actually do feel like he was in the right for a lot of this. Like all the other stuff aside, where it's like, oh, is he like selling things against the government or whatever? He was just like, hey, you're a real nice lady. You want to like hang out? And she's like, yeah, I love you. And he's like, you do? He's like, that's amazing. He's like, let's get married. But then like as soon as they get married, he just sees her like making out with this dude all the time. And he's like, I really want to like love you, but don't make out with that guy anymore.
Yeah.
And you're just like, god damn.
Oh, but then maybe if he comes by and sees how in love I am with you, it'll make him insanely jealous and he'll leave. And then, because that always works. I totally believe when women tell me that.
I actually heard that line one time dropped in a situation with like me and another person where it's like, oh, they're only dating. It was one of those things that's like, they're only dating this guy to make that guy jealous. And I was like, what? I was like, that doesn't make any sense. I was like, that's not how people think. Like, there's in no way is this gonna work. Like, why is that a good plan? But so I did hear that in real life once, and I was pretty blown back by it. But yeah, I just mean, I feel for Claude Rains, and I think Claude Rains is awesome. That Invisible Man, like, he's so cool. I I haven't seen enough of his stuff, but I feel like he doesn't get enough credit that he deserves. Ingrid Bergman is good in this. You can understand her quite a bit, but
as opposed
like
to last week.
Spellbound, yeah. Well, it's like I said, Andrew had like a hard time understanding her, and I couldn't get subtitles on, so I was just like, sorry, babe. I don't know what to tell you. Is she Swedish or Swiss? One of the two. She's one of those, and it's just like, yeah, she's got a little twang in her talk there.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get to Cary Grant, who I have mentioned,
the one and only Cary Grant.
Infamous is his performance in Charade, where he speaks like he is. I don't want to say like a hard R, Jarrett, but he is definitely on some end of some spectrum in that movie.
Oh boy!
I don't know why he decided to do it, but the way he talks is not natural, and it's like you're doing that intentionally. There's a reason you did that. I don't like that you do that. So I don't know why he does it in Charade. I will say he's better in this. I could actually understand him, and I wasn't distracted by his speech in every scene. So he's better in Notorious. But I still don't like this Cary Grant guy. Nah. Wrong song. He's not one of my guys. Give me the Jimmy Stewarts. Give me those Gregory Pecks. Give me anyone but Cary Grant. So that's my hot take. But Claude Rains is cool, and I do like Ingrid Bergman. She's real hip in this. She's like, she has real plain talk. She's like a modern woman, and I was like, yeah.
What about that midriff?
Oh fuck, that bandana on the midriff. So she comes out on the deck, and she's got like a crop top on and jeans, but like her little tummy is showing. And Cary Grant's like, I don't want you to catch a cold, and he wraps a bandana around her midriff, and it's just like, what are you doing? It's like, that's not gonna keep her warm, you fucking weirdo. See, he's a weird dude. I don't know what it is, but he also like, she's like wicked drunk, and he's like, why don't you? Or she's like, I'm gonna drive, and he's like, all right, go drive then. And he's just like watching her, and you're like, ooh shit, he's playing coy. What does he know? But at the same time, it's like, man, this lady is hammered, shattered, and he's just like, why don't you go drive, doll, for a little while? And it's like on bluffs by like the ocean. Goddamn. So there's that. Yeah, there's some good attention to like setups for things. Like champagne bottles are focused on a lot, and the whole time watching, I was like, I wonder when this is gonna play out, and then it does, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. There's some interesting dynamics between people in this, the relationships of men and women and equal rights, where Cary Grant, quote, says, a man doesn't tell a woman what to do, end quote, but then at the same time, he's like, but do what I'm telling you to do. And you're like, interesting. There is, I wrote down chicken talk for some reason. I don't know why. Apparently there's chicken talk in this movie. You figure it out. This movie also, there's a few weird things in this. Like there's a scene where it's really weird. It cuts. So like Ingrid Bergman is like with Claude Rains or something, and then it cuts to Cary Grant, and he's in a diner or something like that. And I swear it's like 2 seconds long, and then it cuts back, and that's it. And then like later it cuts to him and he's in a different situation. I don't know why it happens. It's around 35 minutes. It just cuts to him for a second and he's in a diner, and then it cuts away. And I thought it was the weirdest thing. I was like, I don't think that's supposed to be there. Like, what does this mean? Like it's about him like contemplating. He's like, oh God, what is she doing? Is she being fast and loose with that guy too?
Sucking his cock.
Yeah. Like, it's like, so like I get what it means, but it's so weird that it's like really fast. It's like it just cuts and then it cuts away, and you're like, oh, that's weird. I don't know why you did that, Hitch. Yeah, making out, long ass kisses, trust, love, drunks, sexual blackmail. It's got it all, man. Yeah, I don't know. I like Notorious. I think they hit some pretty heavy themes, but I don't know. I might like Rebecca more. I'm on the fence a little bit.
I've always, yeah, I mean, in rewatching these movies, other than Spellbound, which was a new movie, like Rebecca got better for me. And Notorious, like just like thinking about it, I'm like, there's so much good visual stuff. Just like on a technical level, I think this movie's better, and it feels like a Alfred Hitchcock movie. Where Rebecca, even like reading the interview with Truffaut, it's like it felt like this is a movie he did as like a work for hire type deal, and it's like the themes aren't really there. He just was kind of working through his stuff. Where this is like he was hands on. Part of the deal was like this was the movie he was working with Selznick, and then the deal fell through, and they wound up selling like the whole project to with it was like RKO produced it and stuff like that, so it went off to Fox, but like Selznick got to keep half the money of the proceeds, and but then but he had way more freedom to make the movie he wanted. And I guess like, and it's funny because like I mentioned too how I feel like this movie like really like if it felt like a graphic novel, like a comic book, like the storytelling and like the framing of everything is so clear. Like you could watch this movie with no sound and follow the whole thing. Like it's so visual, especially everything once you get to the house, and like how much of this movie takes place in that house. Like almost the entire movie's interior. A lot of it's just interiors. Like I mean, even the scenes where they're like driving around with drunk Ingrid, like that's all just rear projection. So he's got all this control over the whole thing, except for like the horse track. I think that was like something like shot in Los Angeles, but everything otherwise is in that house, and parties at the house, coming in and out of it. And so he's like you have that amazing shot, that like overhead shot from like kind of like the second floor balcony down, and it's all zooming, it's all floating down to her hand where the key is. That whole like sequence, and I've seen this in like film studies books where like they lay out the whole process of her getting the key off of the loop, and kind of like the subtle building of that suspense of picking up the loop of it and putting it on, and then like the whole process of like kicking it under. All that, it's so good, like all these little things. And then like kicking it under the dresser, picking it back up, handing it off to Cary Grant. It's like the attention to detail, and that's so great. And just like the whole build up with when Claude Rains like figures it out, because there's like the shot where he looks at the key and he sees there's only 3 on there, and then the next morning he sees there's 4, and so he knows like fuck, like he's got a problem, and he has to go talk to his mom about it. You get this whole scene where like you get their perspective, and like if this was like a Guillermo del Toro movie, they wouldn't show that. Like they would just like they would play it like, oh, do they or don't they know? It's like, well, of course they know. So the movie just like completely deflates that, and it's just like, okay, this is his reaction, and he's like, he's heard about this, but he's also scared now because he's like, God damn it, if like the other people who are like murderous Nazis find out, like we're dead. And so his mom's like, well, we have to kill the bitch, and it's like, yeah,
is that a direct quote?
And I quote, "Gotta kill the bitch." So,
nice.
Yeah, and then you get that whole sequence of her getting sick, the gradual downturn, the bags under the eyes, the weakness. It starts immediately, the big reveal, and then you get like the whole playing out of the rescue, and which like I guess I've seen some people talk about how like underwhelming they find that whole sequence. Like it doesn't work for them. It doesn't like have a big shootout or something. I don't know.
I guess I don't know.
I think it's great, like because it's such a like unexpected ending, because it's just like, well, Cary Grant uses his head. Like he doesn't like, he talks his way out and says, we're going to take this out like right in the open. We're not going to like sneak through. We're not going to crawl out a window. We're going to walk straight down those stairs, right through the front door, and you're all going to come out with a smile. They get to the car, they get in. He's like, well, I'm coming with you. So, oh no, you're not coming with us. You're going back in there. Oh, I can't. I'm a dead man. He's like, well, that's your problem. Ta-ta. And then they leave, and you assume, well, they're good now. And can we talk to you for a minute? And you just get the slow walk up the steps, and it's like the iconic shot. And I'm like, that like I've always remembered, because it's like, what an unexpected ending. Like there's no wrap up. There's no like her back at the hospital and them having a funny little moment of like, well, we really showed him, didn't we? A-OK America. Yeah.
Do you think that they did show him for real? Do you think they got him?
I guess so. But it's like kind of like sad for old Claude and his mom. They're dead, fictionally dead.
Yeah, that is sad, because he was a cool dude, and it sucks.
Hey, RJ.
What?
Did you know that there is a Lifetime made-for-TV 1992 remake of Notorious?
Really? And did you watch said remake of Notorious?
I watched about 15 minutes of it just to get a feel for this thing, because I I know how this goes. I know this is my first rodeo. It's October though, so I didn't really make a point of setting aside like, an hour and a half to watch something I know is not going to be very good. But I did watch the first 15 minutes just to get a feeling of like, because this is like, it's based on the same screenplay, and boy oh boy, so many references, so many callbacks. This movie, man.
And
it opens up, it's black. They're shooting it black and white. It's the courtroom scene. It's all these close-ups. We get the Jenny Robertson. She's playing the Ingrid Bergman character, and she's like sitting in the courtroom listening to the court throwing the book at her dad. So you just see the dad. He's a communist though, because it's 1992, and we're still like apparently in the hot throes of like Soviet Russia.
The Red Menace.
The Red Menace. I mean, it's dying down. The walls come down and stuff like that. Reagan beat him, but apparently there's still lingering traitors that we're flushing out. And so we get the found guilty, and then as soon as they leave the courtroom, it changes from black and white to color, and there's like the big mob of like journalists all saying, Alicia, what do you have to say about your father being a traitor to your country? And of course, the other thing I forgot to mention in the courtroom scenes, there's all these close-ups and rapid cuts to like the American flag and symbols of justice and the American way, because otherwise the nuance might be lost. And her line reading is like, how do I feel? How do you think I feel? And we get guitar licks, and then out from her comes Notorious. I could not.
I'm surprised they didn't, after the guitar, they didn't bust in with a Notorious B.I.G. No, Notorious.
Yeah. So I couldn't. I was just started laughing, and like so they really laid down that she's a slut back at her house.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So she's real slut, just making out with dudes. Gotta live up to that Notorious name. And of course they do the behind the head shot of our Cary Grant stand-in, because remember how they don't show the front of his face when they reveal him. So they do that. And so of course, who is it? It's John Shea, aka Lex Luthor from the Lois and Clark New Adventures of Superman series, who then also played Lex Luthor's father in Smallville. That's about all I know. That's my experience of John Shea. And here he's doing a Cary Grant impersonation, if you can imagine such a thing.
I can't even watch Cary Grant do a Cary Grant, so I don't know what it would be like to see someone else do that.
Yeah. So yeah, he's got like kind of like weird, dark, like just black pits of eyes. At least on the YouTube version I was watching. And so anyway, it's the same shtick. He's there to recruit her. We get the drunk driving scene, but instead of like starting at like 65 miles per hour, we're going like 80. And then she's like starts speeding to 100. The cop pulls her over. He shows his badge. And then, but we don't get that classic man on woman violence with Cary Grant smacking her around a little bit. She gets like kind of like, get out of my car. And then she like, I'm going to get out then. She gets out and she falls down and collapses. So that's their out of getting around that little tidbit. And then she wakes up and we get this like horrible like mishmash of like the like out of focus Cary Grant standing in the door frame at an angle. And then we get like that foreground shot with like the drink in front of her face. They collapse those into one shot with him like holding the glass in silhouette closely to her. So
was it cool?
No.
Oh,
it's not. And so she gets recruited. We get the tape played back showing that she's a real patriot who like questioned her father. But instead of going to Brazil, we're going to Paris because they could get a lot of B-roll of Paris inserted in there. We get the scenes of them falling in love. And because she's like always talking about how handsome this guy is, like she's just like, man, she's wet for it, man.
Is he handsome though?
You can look up John Shea, Shea. You tell us. And we just get the scenes of them frolicking, laughing. There's a scene with a Parisian clown with them like he's like, oh, they're looking at a book, and he like steps away, and then the clown puts his arm around her, and then she doesn't realize it, and then he like comes around and says, hey, and she's like, what? And she turns around and sees the clown. He's like laughing, and they all have a good laugh. and then when they're walking away, she does the same thing to him with the clown, and then he starts walking away with the clown, doesn't realize it. It's so funny. I don't
think John Shea is attractive at all.
Well, you heard it here first, folks.
Whoa. What was that?
Not a hunk.
Yeah, hunk of burning love, baby.
No. So that's as far as I got into the 1992 Notorious.
Sounds like a good creep though for Creeptober.
No, needles to say, it's no Hitch.
Like the movie Hitch with Will Smith. We haven't made any of those jokes at all during this month of Hitch movies, have we?
Until now.
Have you seen that movie?
No.
It's pretty good.
But RJ, enough
Yes?
enough of this Lifetime bullshit movie stuff. Who hates Notorious?
People, I'm sure.
Alleged humans.
Hit it.
Okay, one sec here. I gotta make it nice and big font for my failing eyes.
Jesus, you're old.
Lit last. 1 star. No. This was tedious and overall just filled with characters who I would rather see die in an infinite loop of the most horrible accidents, because that would make this drab and grating narrative slightly interesting and maybe even watchable. Yes, it was nice to look at and the production might be okay, but its bloated narrative and seemingly aimless pace would make any homework much more interesting, because at least you are in control of the pacing. The only notorious thing about this was Alfred Hitchcock expecting anyone to watch and sit through it. I could not recommend this movie to anyone. Please, only watch this if you really have to see it.
Pretentious, I suppose, this person. Their favorite movies are things I've never heard of. Like hippopotamy? 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 Window water baby moving. Pussy from 2018. And Once, that movie that other haters were real shitting on one time. They're also, since it's Creeptober, they have a list. Best horror films you probably haven't seen. Hey, Jarrett, have you seen The Skin I Live In?
Yep.
Hey, Jarrett, have you seen Triangle?
Yep.
What about Pontypool?
Oh, yeah.
What about The House of the Devil?
You know, RJ, I own every single one of these movies.
I know you do. So are you saying that this list is possibly inaccurate as you have maybe seen these movies?
I'm an outlier. I'm an unusual case.
Triangle's popular, was it not?
It's minor.
The Wailing is on here. That's like a Netflix movie.
Yeah, that's pretty popular.
Yeah.
Okay. Jay, 1 star. I got 47 minutes in and sincerely could not follow the story. Extremely boring.
I feel like Jay could be a Creep fan. They have a lot of Criterion movies. Favorite movies: Silence of the Lambs, Clockwork Orange, Gone Girl, Donnie Darko. What the hell? Apparently, they also just added all 4 versions of A Star Is Born to their watch list, which I find troublesome. They also favorite 5-star movies include Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the Tim Burton affair, Gothica with Halle Berry, Triangle again. What is going on with these Triangle?
Oh man,
fans?
let's go for 3. Complete that triangle. Carnival, 1.5 star. I really didn't like this movie, and how. The best I can say is that it's more believable in the development of the plot compared to other Hitchcock films, but the romance, blarg! No one would feel truly excited about this, and brutally predictable.
Is it brutally predictable, this movie?
Brutally?
Okay. So this person, Jarrett, so they have a favorite film that the first person did, Oslo, August 31st. I don't know what that is. They just watched Possession, gave it 4 stars, and their 4-star review is a single question mark. 5-star movies include Session 9, Evil Dead 2, Avengers Infinity War. They're Call Me By Your Name. Ooh. What else we got in here? Mean Girls? That's fine, I guess. Star Wars, Guardians 2, La La Land, whatever. Shut up, Leonardo. Nobody cares. Nerd.
Cool. That's it.
Wait, was that the right
Jay.
review that?
Or Carnival.
Oh shit, that was the wrong person.
Oh, you're shitting on a guy. Oh, come on.
Yeah, it was some guy named Leonardo. That's why I said that. This Carnival likes Midnight in Paris, Children of Men. I wonder how they feel about Triangle. They only have five-star movies, and Children of Men is one of them. So I'm on board with this person.
That's all it takes, huh?
Oh shit, Eternal Sunshine 3 stars. Get out of here.
Whoa.
Get out of here with that junk.
Wow. Well,
Whatever.
there we go. Now we're on the right page.
Yep.
And it's the last page.
Of your life.
I don't know, man. I think it's a gooder.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
What's your ranking? What's your Hitchcock ranking out of the 5 we've watched?
What are the other ones? 39 Steps and
Lady Vanishes.
I would say maybe Rebecca, Notorious, Lady Vanishes, 39 Steps, Spellbound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd flip that top 2, but yeah, I think that's
Why don't-
legit.
You just fucking leave it alone, all right? You asked my opinion, and I gave it to you. What else do you want?
Yeah, I think like the next time we're going to watch Hitchcock is if whenever we get into those laser discs again, because that's where his some more of his grandpa 30s movies are.
Well, it'll depend what we do with that Laserdisc series, if people are still interested or not.
Well, they are, or they're going to have to be. But
Yeah.
we got to find time. We got to slot that stuff in. Got to make sure the stars align.
We'll see.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Huh?
Notorious is ace, and we all agree.
Yeah.
After the break, I don't know what they're going to do with RJ's body. So once they get they kill him back in the mansion, but that's not my problem anymore, because America in Love made it.
What are you on about now?